Thank you again for, hey, Facebook. Today we're talking about your question number 6, your one thing hormone survey answers. Thank you so much. We're at over 150 answers. Was about how do I properly check my hormones? Thank you for the amazing questions. You guys are awesome. I really wanted to know before I went into the Hormone Balance Mastermind again, am I really addressing everything that people want to know about and need about their hormones? And the answer is yes. So we're going to talk today. Hey, ladies, how are you? I see Sandra, weight loss on steroids, quantum fit, flow. Hi, how are you guys? Wave to you guys. And let me see who's here on Facebook. And do me a favor, like and share this video, this live, because the algorithms work on social media that they only show women who are needing this kind of information, videos that have been interacted with and commented on and liked and shared. So if you don't know any women who have hormone problems, then don't do those things, but pretty much all of us do. So we need to share the information. I always say pay it forward and help another woman to get the information that she needs. So I appreciate you doing that. All right, let's get into it. So your hormones. So one person had their answer on the one thing hormone question, and I love, she said, what hormones are you talking about? And I really appreciate that, because there is a lot of confusion for people about exactly when we say hormones, what are we meaning? I might say hormones and mean one thing, you might say hormones and mean another. So it's important to be specific. So there are 7 main metabolic driving hormones in your body that you need to balance if you're trying to lose weight, regain energy, or heal. And essentially, weight and energy are linked. We talked about that a few days ago, because it's your hormones that tell your mitochondria at what rate to transform fat, which is a fuel, into energy. Your currency of energy is ATP. So, but you need ATP and energy to do anything in your body, to heal anything, to bat an eyelash, think a thought, digest a food. So you can't do anything without that working. So weight and energy problems are coupled together. You almost never see somebody who doesn't have both. It's rare to have someone who's overweight and has great energy. It's rare to see someone who's terribly fatigued and doesn't have a weight problem. They usually go together, not always, but most commonly. And you usually see other health problems too, because your body needs energy, not only to give you energy to, do the things you want to do in life, but to heal things, right? If you got a skin rash, it needs ATP to heal that. If you're losing hair, it needs ATP to heal that. If you're trying to have a sex drive, you need ATP for that. So this is why weight and energy problems are also linked to other hormone problems. To other health problems. And so it's almost impossible for your body to heal what it wants to heal, because it naturally does heal. You cut yourself. Do you have to do anything? You just have to protect it and keep it clean and put a bandage on it, but you don't do anything. It heals itself. That same force that heals that cut on your hand is the same force at work in your body 24/7, 365, trying to heal everything. But it can't heal anything if it doesn't have the proper resources, and it won't have the proper energy if you've got a weight and fatigue problem, because your hormones aren't signaling properly. Okay, so let's get to the hormones. So the main thing that we need to do is clarify, what are we talking about? We got the 7 main metabolic hormones. So for a lot of women, what I'm talking about, and what I hear you guys talking about from the 150 responses you gave me on the one thing survey, and if you didn't do the survey, you can still do it. It's not too late. Go to midlifemetabolisminstitute.com/one thing, ONETHING, one thing. And you can tell me what you are wanting to know about with your hormones, because I'm going to be answering all your questions here. So you can go there and find out. So what a lot of you are talking about and you want to know about, I hear thyroid, and thyroid, sex hormones, and sex hormones. Some of you cortisol, a few of you insulin, but I'd say the two biggest ones were sex hormones and thyroid. So let's talk about these in terms of what's the best way to check them, because these are great questions. Oh, thank you so much. Quantum Fit Flow says, love your work, have to sign off, but we'll finish later. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for that comment. Love it when you guys comment. Otherwise, it's like I'm just talking to my computer screen, which is super boring. And I see like double-digit eyeballs here on Facebook. Give me a shout out. Let me know who's here. I am in the comments screen, so I will say, hey, Dr. Karen, it's Amy. Hey, Dr. Karen, it's Kim. Let me know who's here. All right. So let's talk about thyroid first. So thyroid, it's this beautiful butterfly-shaped gland in the front of your neck that is your metabolic regulator. It just is. It's your sets your body's temperature. It's your thermostat. And where does your temperature come from? Where does the heat in your house come from? You have to put fuel in your heater, whether it's electricity or oil. Hey, Lori. You've got to put fuel in. So that's what your thyroid does. It regulates the rate at which your fuel, fat, and sugar are turned into energy. That sets your body's temperature. It's your metabolic burner, okay? So, hey, Nakia, how are you? Welcome from Cali. All right, so you've got to have this set right. If you've got weight and energy problems, I'm sorry, I don't care what your doctor said, you have a thyroid problem until you prove to me otherwise. End of story. But what is the problem is that mainstream medicine doesn't do the right test to identify thyroid hormone, and they don't read them the right way. So in mainstream medicine, the screening test for thyroid problems is a TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, which is the hormone that your brain makes to tell your thyroid to function. So they're looking at how your brain is responding to the level of thyroid hormone in your bloodstream all over your body, right? Which is not a direct indicator of how your thyroid's functioning, because there might be something with the feedback where your brain's not appropriately responding for whatever reason. So better yet, in mainstream medicine, that's what they do. And they only treat you and say you have hypothyroidism when you are in a disease range, meaning you got to be really outside the normal range to be diagnosed with a thyroid disease, and put on medication. But we know from a functional root cause resolution approach that misses a lot of women with a thyroid problem. So we do different tests. We actually look at the hormone that the thyroid's making, which is T4. And we don't just look at the total T4, we look at the free T4, because most hormones live in your body bound to proteins. So we look at the total, and that gives us the bound to protein, but we also look at the free that gives us the unbound. And we look at that inactive thyroid hormone is T4. It's what your thyroid makes. It has to be transformed into active thyroid hormone, which is T3. And that happens at different organs in your body, mostly in your abdominal cavity. Well, we can look at your T3 level, total and free. And then we can look at something called the reverse T3, which is a abnormal form of T3 your body will actually make instead of healthy T3 when you have another problem about cortisol, which we'll get to. So we can look at those. We can look at the antibodies that your body might accidentally be making. Hey, Tracy. Be making to your thyroid, right? Which is a part of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is so prevalent among women, where the body's immune system starts attacking the thyroid. Well, guess what? You can check these level of these hormones, thyroid peroxidase antibody and antithyroglobulin antibody, before you even know if you have a thyroid problem, because it will tell you that you don't have one now, but you're going to get one. In fact, in the Hormone Balance Mastermind that we're wrapping up this week, that we started in January, we diagnosed 2 women when we did the full thyroid panel with Hashimoto's antibodies who had not been diagnosed with a thyroid problem. And one of their function was actually pretty good, but she has antibodies that are attacking her thyroid, which means that she'll be good for a while. And I don't know if it'll be a year or 5 years or 10 years. Eventually, she's going to have a thyroid problem. But now she knows about it and she can clean it up and not get a thyroid problem. Wouldn't you rather know ahead of time that you're headed for a thyroid problem and fix it so you don't get a thyroid problem? If you're with me, let me know in the comments. I want to know now. I want to know now. Let me know, ladies, because I think you would want to know before you go down the line and your thyroid is partially destroyed and you are diagnosed with hey, Janine, how are you? Before you're diagnosed with a low thyroid. And then the other woman in the program had similar antibodies. No, came with no diagnosis of a low thyroid. And hey, Leanne, she wants to know. She says, yes. And she actually had started having some low thyroid function. So now she can get on top of this, but she had been to her regular doctor and they had told her, you're fine. When a woman comes to me all the time, I say, well, we need to check your thyroid. And they go, oh no, my doctor checked it. It's good. I say, no, 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 no. They didn't do the right test, I promise you. And they didn't read them the right way, I promise you. So those are the right tests. Now, the right way. What do I mean when I say the right way? Well, you get, hey, Tina, how are you? Well, Tina, I don't know where you are. Let me know where you are because we help women all over the United States if you're in any of the United States. And Janine says, I know I have one and was confirmed by working with Dr. Kieran. So there you go. So, all right, so we started with doing the right test. You got to do the right test and you got to read them the right way. What do I mean by reading them the right way? Because you get the report from the lab and it gives you your results on the left, and then on the right it says normal values or reference range, right? So you just compare your values to the normal or reference range. That's what tells you if they're okay or not, right? Do you think that's right? Let me know. If you think it's right, put that in the comments. I want to know. Hey, Carla, how are you? Because that's not right. That is not right. Where do you guys know where those values come from on the right that say reference range or normal values on your lab? Where they come from is they take all the values, say you're checking your thyroid TSH for all the people, and then they use that thing that you probably learned about in high school science, the bell curve and normal distributions and standard deviations. Remember all that stuff? Some of you are like, I can't wait to get out of this. I don't want to do this. I found it fascinating. Of course, that's why I went into this field. So it's that bell curve where they say that, right, Tina says from sick people. So 60% of Americans are overweight or obese. Are they optimally healthy? No. Do they have optimal lab values? No. They're comparing you to what 95% of the population has. 60% of those people are not healthy. So that's where those normal values come from. They're looking at yours and going, yep, it's normal for a normal American who is not healthy. And then they tell you you're fine and you go home and you're like, what's wrong with me? I can't lose weight. I have no energy. I feel like crap. But my doctor says my labs are normal. How many of you can relate to this? Say, give me a shout out. Janine says, Dr. Kieran taught me how to read my test, the optimal numbers. Yes, right? So Janine is in the Hormone Balance Mastermind, and I teach you how to read your own dang labs because those normal values just are not like we're talking about. It's not optimal. If you want to be 40, 50, 60, 80 and feel fabulous. Barbara says it's infuriating. Lori says totally relate, right? If you want to feel fabulous and it is your birthright to feel fabulous at every age, you are not on this planet to suffer, right? There are some women in their 80s there's this bodybuilding champion woman she's one of my idols. She's amazing. Just Google, I can't think of her name right now. You can do that. You can feel great. You can have the best sex of your life, the best energy of your life, the best brain function of your life. It is your birthright. But if you go through life letting your doctor tell you your labs are normal and you don't ever question, like, wait a minute, I feel like crap. There must be something wrong, because I promise you, if you feel like crap, there is something wrong. It's just that you're not having the right tests and they're not being read the right way. You need to read them for optimal values, which are different than normal values. So this is why when women come to me and they say, oh, my doctor checked my thyroid, I'm good. No, 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 no. Let me do the right tests. Let me read them the right way. And then when I do, invariably, I'd say about 8 out of 10 women who I work with who said their doctor checked their thyroid and it was fine, they actually have low functioning thyroid. So that's a problem, because then this is your thermostat, right? It's setting your metabolic rate. Here's Tracy. She's in the program too. Tracy says she's the first functional doctor to take the time to help me understand my blood numbers. Yes. Facebook user, I don't know who this says, where do we pay? When? Take my money. So you want to get on the early bird wait list, because enrollment is going to open tonight at 6 p.m. only for the early birders. Everybody else, it doesn't open until tomorrow. So it's at midlife-metabolism-institute.com/early-bird-waiting-list. I know it's long. In Instagram, it's in my bio at the top of the page. And in Facebook, it's pinned to the top of the page on my page, and in the Menopause Madness Summit group. On YouTube, I haven't added it there. I see some of you are on there. Just hop on over to my Instagram at Kieran Dunstan MD, or Facebook at Kieran Dunstan MD, or in the Stop the Menopause Madness Summit group. So those are where the links are. Okay. So Janine says it feels so empowering. Oh, I love working with you. I tell you what, I have the best people in my program. They're just amazing. And oh, Tracy, you're so sweet. Dr. Kieran's class is worth every penny. Do something wonderful for yourself. Thank you so much. It really is the ultimate act of self-love, is finding out the truth about your health and finding someone who can help you do what you need to do to get it where you deserve to have it. It infuriates me, and I know I'm off the topic. We'll get back to the hormone checking in a second. I get so upset when I see women who have accepted that they are going to just lose their health when they hit midlife. They're just accepted. They're going to gain weight. They're going to be tired, and they're just going to accept it and medicate themselves with wine and chocolate. You know who I'm talking about, right? How many of us women have just accepted it and we're like, yeah, it's just the best as it's going to be. I may as well have some red wine and some chocolate and, just deal with it, because we're not getting the help that we need from our doctors, because they don't know, because we're not trained. I wasn't trained in this stuff when I was trained as a traditional OBGYN. I had to have my own health fall to the toilet in my 40s and then figure out the way out. And that's when I discovered that I made a promise that I would teach as many women as possible about this. My goal is really to change the standard of care when it comes to women's health, but not only for women, particularly us over 40. We are a neglected group of women, unfortunately. And so it's my goal to touch 1 million women in the next 3 years, starting with each one of you, because if I work with each one of you, then you touch 3 women. And then it's like that commercial from the 70s, right? That Herbal Essence commercial. Do you guys remember? And I tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on and so on. Remember? And the little pictures would multiply on the screen. Let me know if I'm alone here, because I remember that commercial like it was yesterday. All right, let's see. So Tina says she's in Canada, but if I took your course and learned everything to know I'm Susan, I could teach my doctor about this. Yes, and we had so many people reaching out from Canada in particular, but also Australia and Europe, who can I do this? So my goal is in 2021, we're just making sure we get all the US states covered. And then in 2022, the big issues are the blood work is an issue, getting that in a different countries, and then getting physicians licensed in those states or countries who can prescribe and do the consults. But I had so many women saying, please. So what we are going to offer is a basic program. The Dutch test they will send to any country, so you can get that. And we're going to talk about that next when it comes to women's hormones. And we'll do all the teaching. But if you can get your doctor to draw the blood work and prescribe for you, we can do everything else. So we do have a basic version for anyone who's overseas that we're just rolling out today, that we decided to offer, because I kept thinking, well, how can we help these people? Because they're like, help me, I have no help. And I learned a long time ago that I help the women who are swimming towards me. I learned this from a Coast Guard friend who, was one of the people who went when there was a big shipwreck in the middle of the ocean, and they had to deploy aircraft to save them. And I'm like, well, how do you decide who to save when you don't have enough aircraft to airlift all these people out of the water? And he said, we save the ones swimming towards us. And that made total sense to me. So save the ones swimming. So I save the women who are swimming towards me, and y'all in Canada are totally like reaching out saying, I need help. So we do have that basic version. Hopefully in 2022, we'll be able to do everything. All right. So yes, Nakia, that is the Dutch test. It is for sure the best. Yes, so that's what the Hormone Balance Mastermind is, Allison. It's for everybody all over the United States, in all cities. And so what I do is I coach and teach the program, and then you get a consult with a physician licensed in your state to get the tests and get a prescription if needed. So I really tried to think of everything that women need at midlife to be successful doing this. And there's so many programs out there that don't work about diet and exercise. Now, diet and exercise might work when you're 20, but we have programmed obsolescence with our ovaries, right? So they start puttering out somewhere in our 40s, and by the time we're in our 50s, they're gone. So these hormones uncouple your weight and energy from your diet, your caloric intake and expenditure. So the diet and exercise thing doesn't work after you hit 40. It just doesn't work. You have to balance the hormones that tell your cells what to do. So I tried to think of everything women need, and you all need to understand everything about your 7 main hormone drivers. You need to have hormone testing. So in the program, everyone gets hormone testing. You need a doctor licensed in your state who can prescribe if needed, whether it's thyroid, sex hormones, whatever. And so I tried to think of everything that you need. Is that everything you need, Janine? You tell me. She says, yes, Dr. Karen is awesome. She over delivers. Thank you so much. So, so we work with people all over the United States. I have doctors who will do a HIPAA compliant video conference with you. And so it's like you sign up for the program with me. I teach you and coach you all the stuff you need to know. And then My Telehormone MD is the company that I founded to provide the telemedicine services specifically for women at midlife to get their hormones checked and balanced, because we don't have this. There are so many women who reach out to me all over the US. There's nobody near me. I need this help. So that's why one day it just occurred to me, like I kept saying, I was even saying to my cousin who had called me up one day, oh, Kieran, I need hormones. I'm a mess. And I was like, well, Nikki, I don't know anyone in your area. She lives outside DC. I actually did prescribe to her, even though I'm not licensed there. One time, I just did it one time. Then I said, let me figure out someone to find you. So I found her someone, and then she was not happy. I said, we really need a telemedicine company for women at midlife to get their hormones checked and balanced. We need one. And then one day it occurred to me, like, why don't I create that? I certainly have the experience and expertise with telemedicine and women's hormones and at midlife to do it. And so I decided right then, you know what? Why am I saying we need? Why am I not the one creating it? And so I created it. All right. So, all right. So let's talk about, we talked about thyroid. So that's number one. Okay. And then the other thing you guys are asking about in the one thing survey is sex hormones, right? So most people are used to getting labs checked by blood, right? But the problem with these sex hormones is, where do they come from? And if you're liking this information, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, let me know, share it with your friends, tag your friends who need to hear this, who are your friends who are drinking red wine and eating chocolate because they're so miserable at midlife and they think that's all they have to look forward to. All right, so these hormones come from cholesterol. So where does cholesterol come from? Animal fat, right? When your cholesterol's high, doctor tells you what? Eat less animal fat. Okay, red meat. This is where they come from. So they are fat. What is fat? It's oil. Your blood is what? Water. Do oil and water mix, y'all? Do oil and water mix? No, they don't. You put oil and water in a glass, and they immediately separate out. The oil falls to the bottom because it's heavier. Water floats to the top. These hormones don't just float around like they're like you swimming in the ocean at the beach in your blood. They just don't. They have to be carried around in proteins. I call them FedEx trucks. So when you draw blood to check how many hormones are there, you can see how many FedEx trucks you have, but you don't really know how many packages of hormones are in each FedEx truck. And the FedEx truck delivers the packages to the cells so quickly because they hate water so much. It's like your cat. You know, when you try to wash it in the sink, it jumps out immediately. These hormones are like that. So your body tries to throw them to the cells. So they stay in solution in blood. Whoop! So fast you can't even measure it. So it's very hard to get an accurate measurement with blood, right? You really need, second best is saliva. So why is that? Because the saliva gland, what's inside of it, it makes the saliva and then it releases it through your gland, right? It has the same concentration, the saliva, as the cell does, the saliva cell. And that's what we want to know, is what is the concentration of these hormones in your cells? So checking saliva is second best, but only under one condition. If you are not on and haven't been on any sex hormone replacement within the past 3 to 6 months. Why is that? Because something peculiar about the saliva gland is it concentrates progesterone. So if you've been on any level of progesterone and also to a certain degree estrogen and testosterone, it concentrates them. So if I see a saliva hormone test of a woman and she's on any type of hormone replacement, it's totally unreliable. And sometimes we'll come back with progesterone levels in the 10,000s range. And normal and optimal would be like in the hundreds range, 1 or 2. So it's not reliable at all for monitoring women on hormones. So a few years ago, this brilliant doctor, Dr. Carrie Jones, looked at the research, and she too was having trouble balancing her patients because she didn't have good tools to use. And she looked at the research and said, why aren't we looking at urine metabolites of these hormones to get at what's going on in the body? And so that's what she did. And she developed this test called Dutch, which is dried urine metabolite testing. And it is the most accurate state-of-the-art way to see what's going on with your hormones. In addition, it also looks at how you're breaking down these hormones, because everything your body makes, it has to get rid of or it becomes toxic, including your hormones. So you can be making yourself sick from your own estrogen and not even know it if you don't know and do the test to see, are you breaking it down and getting rid of it? So she added that. So this is the state of the art. This is what we do in the Hormone Balance Mastermind. Everybody gets a Dutch kit mailed to their house and pees on the little urine strips. It's super easy. You let them dry and you send them back to the lab. And then we also do, so those are the two big questions you guys had on the one thing survey. What about my thyroid? And what about my sex hormones? What's the best way? And then next it was about your stress hormone cortisol, because you've heard that this is a thing. How many of you have heard this, that it's a thing, that your cortisol is a thing, but your doctor doesn't talk about it? It's like you go to your doctor's office and you say, well, I heard about salivary cortisol. I know my stress hormone's important. There's so much about stress in your health, stress in your health. You hear it everywhere. You turn on the news. Stress is affecting your health. Stress is affecting your health. Well, you want to know, how is stress affecting my health? Well, maybe you heard me, maybe you heard someone else, maybe you heard it on the Stop the Menopause Madness Summit, that you can check the effects of stress on your health through your cortisol hormone, right? If you hadn't heard that, then maybe you heard it here first. Well, you say to your doctor, I want you to check my cortisol, but you also heard Dr. Kieran say that you need to do it in saliva. And your doctor goes, no, we don't do that. No, I don't know what you're talking about. And he basically doesn't know what you're talking about, because he doesn't know what you're talking about, because he wasn't trained in that. I wasn't trained in it either, right? I had to learn all this stuff for myself after my own health was terrible and I weighed 240 pounds. And had chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and all the things. So let's talk about salivary cortisol. What's the best way to check that? You can do a blood test. It might give you a ballpark, but the problem is that cortisol has what we call a diurnal variation. It changes throughout the day, cyclically. It's higher in the morning and then it comes lower throughout the rest of the day, and it has to go down really low at night. That's diurnal, okay? And if you just check it one time, how do you know where you are the rest of the time? You don't. So what you really need to do is you need to look at it over time. So we collect saliva morning, mid-morning, noon, afternoon, midnight, right? And we get a beautiful curve that tells us how much you're putting out throughout the day, which is what really matters. How much you're putting out and the distribution. Because you may put out the right amount throughout 24-hour period, but if your distribution is wonky, that's a problem. And so we go through states of cortisol dysfunction, and you're looking at this dynamic system. You really need to get a full picture, right? Like if I just take a picture of you when you're sleeping at midnight and show it to someone and go, I might say, see how lazy she is? All she does is sleep, right? They might believe me because that's all you're looking at. It's the same with your cortisol. But if I don't look at what you do throughout the day, right? Maybe you run around like crazy throughout the day, but at night you sleep. You're not lazy. You're just sleeping, which is what you're supposed to do. So if I check your cortisol at night and it's low, which is what it's supposed to do, I might say, oh, you have a cortisol problem. Well, you might not, because what's it doing the rest of the day? Hopefully that makes sense. Anything that's dynamic like that, you've got to look at it over time. So that's really the best way to check your cortisol, salivary cortisol profile. And the Dutch Plus test has that, so we do that. It's so funny, though. I find that you can purchase a Dutch test yourself on their website, but the problem is all these women buy it because they hear that it's great, but then they don't know how to read it. Their doctor doesn't know how to read it. They don't know what to do with it. So that's why I created this program, so I can teach you how to read your own test and also connect you with doctors who know how to read it so you can get a prescription if needed. But hopefully this is making sense. And I thank you all. Your Dr. Barbara says, I was tested once and told my cortisol was a little low, no follow-up, and a one-time test. Right. So this is that's that normal versus optimal situation, Barbara. It's you're normal, you're a little low, like they don't really have any paradigm in which that is an issue to address. Because when it comes to cortisol in mainstream medicine, unless you have a dis-ease or disease, meaning you're in the top or bottom 2.5% of values with your cortisol from that bell curve, right? 95% are normal, 2.5% at the top and 2.5% at the bottom are abnormal and have a disease. Then you have Addison's or Cushing's disease, right? Addison's is bottom 2.5%. It's near life-threatening. Cushing's is top 2.5%. It's near life-threatening. They're not concerned about it. That's how we do mainstream medicine. It's what we do. We diagnose disease, we give medications, we do surgeries. It's awesome if you're having a heart attack or you broke your leg for acute care, but for chronic problems that plague us women at midlife, weight gain, fatigue, can't sleep, no sex drive, hair thinning, skin rashes and problems, nails, digestive dysfunction, cognitive distortions, mood problems, depression, anxiety, right? Like I could name every woman I know over 40 has a handful of complaints like this. Mainstream medicine doesn't have answers for this. They didn't have answers for me, and I was a practicing board certified OBGYN, and I had to figure this out for myself. So what I discovered is there's no answers there for this. So I discovered my own answers, root cause resolution. I got fellowship trained in metabolic, anti-aging, and functional medicine. And I am going about the business of helping women with what medicine is not helping them with, because there are too many of us suffering needlessly. This should be the best time of your life, right? Hopefully you've had experience that you are at the top of your career. Maybe you have a dream for something you've always wanted to create and you want to do it, but you're thinking, but I can't. I feel like crap. You can't deliver your gifts and live your best life when you feel horrible. So my sneaky little goal is I'm going to help you fix your health so you can get about the business of doing the things that really matter to you. Being a great mom, great wife, being the best, whatever, you fill in the blank. CEO, teacher, nurse, flower arranger, marathon runner, whatever it is you want to do so that you can get about the business of being your best you. So I got the hormones covered for you and you take care of the rest. So is that Yana? Oh my gosh, I see Yana. I haven't talked to you in years. So good to see you. So give me a shout out and share this with your friends. Like it, heart it, save it, whatever you need to do, subscribe. Get on the early bird wait list. Like I said, the sign up for the early bird is at the top, at my bio and Instagram. It's pinned to the top of the page in Facebook, because we are opening enrollment for the Hormone Balance Mastermind today at 6 p.m. Eastern, only for people on the early bird wait list. If you are not on that wait list, you will not get open enrollment till tomorrow, and the spaces will probably be gone by then because we limit enrollment to only 20 women. Barbara says, looking forward to signing up tonight. Yes, just so you know, you do need to complete an application because we can't work with everybody. Everyone's not a right fit for this program. So there is an application there you're going to need to fill out, and we will get back to you very quickly, though, because the program opens next Monday. So hopefully this was helpful for you, learning about what is the best way to check my hormones. That is an amazing, amazing question. So you've got to do the right tests and read them the right way. You want to shoot for optimal, not normal values, but you've got to do the right tests first off, and that means Dutch, salivary cortisol, 8 thyroid parameters, and then compare them to optimal values so that you can be hormonally balanced and feel amazing, because the hormones are really the foundation of your health. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Tomorrow I'll answer your next most common question, which is one that many of you had also. So can't wait to get into that. And I will see you then. Bye. Have a wonderful, many blessings. Have a wonderful evening.